Okay, so let's begin the NEET PG MCQ discussion. Okay, first question. Okay, so this is a clinical test, image based question. So what you see is you have marked some structure on spine. Okay, so on the spinal landmark, anatomical landmark, we are taking PSIS as a landmark, which corresponds roughly to L5 vertebra, and here we are marking it. Okay, we are asking the patient to bend forward and touch their feet. Okay, without bending the knee. Okay, to see lumbar flexion. Okay, so lumbar flexion is being tested, and if this lumbar flexion is less than 5 centimeter, we will see less than 5 centimeter of the change. Okay, so then it is characteristic, and this is seen and characteristically seen in ankylosing spondylitis. Which is a seronegative, which means RA factor negative spondyloarthropathy. Okay, the test is known as modified Schoberg's test. Modified Schoberg's test. We also have different tests like Patrick's test for ankylosing spondylitis as well. Okay, so first question was an ankylosing spondylitis and the Schoberg's test. Okay, next question asks you that what is the minimum number of people required to perform an effective log roll as per ATLS guidelines. So any patient of RTA, you have to examine the spine for spinal cord injuries, to rule out spinal cord injury. Okay, so what you need to do is a spinal log roll. Okay, as you see, there are 5 people here and they are trying to examine the spine without causing an further injury to a RTA patient. Okay, so according to ATLS guideline, you require a minimum of 4. Okay, 4 people to do effective log roll. The first one has its gives support to the head and neck. Okay, the second person gives support to the trunk. The third person gives support to the legs, and the fourth person is the one to examine. Okay, so you need at least 4 people. Okay, the other brownie point is you have Philadelphia collar. Philadelphia collar. Okay, for support of cervical spine in cases of cervical spine injury, suspected cases of cervical spine injury. Question number 3 is what is the order of EFAST? EFAST is a bit different from FAST. Okay, in FAST you check 4 areas. So this is a case of abdominal trauma, and in cases of hemodynamic instability, you perform FAST. Okay, which is a USG modality. Okay, so in FAST you check 4 areas, in EFAST you check 6 areas. So the order is, first is epigastrium. Why? Because epigastrium can detect cardiac tamponade, which is a more threatening condition. Then right hypochondrium, okay, for liver injuries. Then left hypochondrium for splenic injuries. Then suprapubic areas for bladder rupture and all other complications, and then thoracic, 2 thoracic areas for pneumothorax. Okay, right and left. So this is the order of EFAST. Okay, next, the fourth question is name the triangle and its significance. So you see a triangle which is obviously involving the upper GI area. Okay, so when you join the points, you see that this is cystic duct, and this is the common hepatic duct. This is CBD. Okay, so a point joining cystic duct and CHD. The other point joining, which is that this is the head of pancreas, this is the body of pancreas. So head and body of pancreas. The other point which is there, which can be extrapolated, that it is between D2 and D3, second and the third part of duodenum. This triangle is known as Passaro's triangle, and Passaro's triangle is also known as gastrinoma triangle because this is the most common location for gastrinomas. Okay, the other point is the tumors which lie outside are more aggressive and more metastatic. Okay, and gastrinoma is the most common pancreatic neoplasm in men 1. Okay, which is Werner syndrome. Okay, now the following sign is seen in which sexual transmitted infection. So to give you a more insight, this is an inguinal region, groin. Okay, and what you see here are lymph nodes. Okay, you have enlarged lymph nodes, and these are characteristically present in between the inguinal ligament which I have marked. Okay, so these two lymph nodes are grooving this inguinal lymph node. Okay, this lymph node 1, this lymph node 2. So hence it is known as groove sign of. Okay, so it is known as groove sign of lymphogranuloma venerum. Okay, this is an STD which shows this typical sign. Okay, next question. Characteristic nail appearance is seen in which position? So as you see, you have this typical hypopigmented lines, okay, in the nail, and these are Aldrich-Mees lines, okay, which is characteristically seen in arsenic poisoning. Okay, so the there are other nail changes. Okay, and the other point is in lead poisoning you get a Burtonian line on gums. Okay, next, most common anti-cancer agent with the following ADR. So what you see is this is hand and this is foot with multiple erythemas. Okay, okay, so this is hand and foot syndrome, which is due to anti-cancer agents causing a decrease in mucosa proliferation. Okay, this is most commonly seen with cepecetabine, then 5-fluorouracil and other few drugs. Okay, the other dermatological or skin ADR are seen with one is bleomycin. Bleomycin has flagellar dermatitis. Okay, this is another IBQ. Okay, next, name the deformity. Okay, so I have already had very confusion with these deformities which are seen in rheumatoid arthritis. So let's make it more simpler. So you see the first phalanx and this is the second one. So we'll see what happens in the PIP and DIP. Okay, so PIP here is flexed. Here the DIP is hyperextended or extended. Okay, and here as you see this PIP is hyperextended and DIP is flexed. This is Bottomless deformity. Okay, and this is Swan neck deformity. Okay, we also have two different deformities in osteoarthritis, which is Bouchard's nodes and Heberden's node, right? Those are different IBQs. Please check them out. Okay, next, identify the apparatus in image used while blood transfusion. Okay, so this is a new question of AIMS June 2020. Okay, so what you see here is a leukodepletion filter. Okay, used while blood transfusion. Okay, So these decrease the WBCs, which is responsible for the acute febrile reaction after blood transfusion. So which definitely decreases the risk of acute febrile reaction. Okay. The more important point is massive blood transfusion complications. Okay. So what you see is decrease in calcium levels because citrate chelates it. Okay, you have decreased or increased potassium, due to more hemolysis and release of potassium from RBCs. Okay, the other point is, as you know that we store the blood at a subnormal temperature. So when you transfuse such patients, like for example, if you have a head of femur fracture and you need a lot of blood, you transfuse them without thawing them, and so this results into hypothermia, right? And the most important and the most leading cause of death in massive blood transfusion is coagulopathy. Okay, last question is, identify the device used in patients with DVT, okay, and its indication. So what you see is a device, okay, is also known as Greenfield's IVC filter. Greenfield's IVC filter. Okay, so this is a as a intervention radiologist apparatus to be installed. Okay, so as you see in the X-ray, you see IVC filter. Okay, so indications, for example, in a patient of normal DVT, you start him on anticoagulation, okay, with LMWH, with heparin and warfarin at start, and then continue on warfarin. Okay, and if for example a short case, you have a patient of subarachnoid hemorrhage who is bedridden, okay, for 10 days. Okay, even after taking precautions, you see that the patient develops DVT. Okay, and you want to prevent the formation of pulmonary thromboembolism, this is the best device. You have a contraindication to anticoagulation. Okay, because if you give anticoagulation now, that will be worsening of subarachnoid hemorrhage and bleeding in the other sides. So you put a IVC filter in these patients. Okay, and even if you have given anticoagulation and still there is an episode of pulmonary thromboembolism, the better suitable method of prevention of pulmonary embolism further is an IVC filter. Okay, thank you.